Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Louise Houghton.
Hello and welcome to the show, which covers a wide variety of topics from all around Europe. We start off in Paris on the subject of fashion, but before we come to that, here's a taste of what else is coming up in the next half an hour. Design icon, German fashion king Wolfgang Joop is still going strong. Fleeting images featuring a Dutch photographer and his indoor clouds. And Bella Italia, we spend a day on the canals of Venice. An author, furniture designer, illustrator, and one of the judges on the TV reality show Germany's Next Top Model. That is what Wolfgang Joop is now known for, aside from his clothing line, of course. Design has always been his passion, and he was recently in Paris at Fashion Week presenting his latest collection, which has been influenced by his international lifestyle.
Models in ankle boots and eye-catching camouflage trousers. It's a mix of summer and winter couture with a vibrant combination of fabrics and color. It's a tribute to Dadaism made in Wunderkind Studios in Potsdam, even though designer Wolfgang Joop was a world away working in LA.
I made the calls at night, and we did fittings on the phone and with Skype. They sent the clothes over in a suitcase, but of course there were all these influences, because life in Los Angeles can be just as multifaceted as it is in Germany. I think this collection is like looking to the future.
During the fitting, Joop works with stylists and his team to develop the finished look.
Boring. Perhaps clothing people are like really up. We make you also a button, a button or whatever, like something like that, completely closed. You know? Don't you think that's better, perhaps?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Then she can put perhaps her hands in here. You see, it gives a good look. It's like a sports jacket. You always have your hands like that.
Finally, the designer is satisfied.
Okay.
I channel the spirits, and they speak to me. I also think I have a great ability to quote and recall images that I've seen before and place them in a new context. That's called postmodernism. Anything that's modern is just contrived. Parkas, shorts, what else is there? Pleated skirts, checked shirts, it's all made up. I just put it in a new context where it clashes.
For his new collection, Joop even enlisted the help of his two grandchildren to design some prints.
We worked together and signed it on the back. Wolfi, that's what they call me, Helena and Fritz. It's down here on the seam. There's also a rabbit with a carrot and a fox that wants to eat the rabbit.
The fashion designer will soon be celebrating his 70th birthday, but he hasn't lost his creative passion. He says it's the best way to stay young.
It reminds me that I have a purpose. I have an experiment that I need to watch, whether it blows up in my face or takes off. Curiosity makes me do it again and again.
Here, Wolfgang Joop is on his way to his next show. Backstage, the models are getting ready to hit the catwalk as the guests find their seats. Christiane Arp, editor-in-chief of Vogue Germany, and Wolfgang's daughters Florentina and Jette Joop are in the audience.
Each year it's the same. We keep asking ourselves, how long is he going to keep this up? But we have to keep supporting him. It's important that he knows he has a family backup system. We don't do everything together, but it's important for him to have support. Well-meaning support.
And then the models hit the stage. 40 different looks are featured in Joop's latest collection. His grandchildren's animal drawings even make an appearance in the show. And the unconventional creations of the Potsdam-based designer seem to have hit the mark with the international audience.
His designs aren't as commercial as those of other designers. You can feel Wolfgang's freedom and his artistic sensitivity.
After the show, Joop has mixed feelings.
It's like I'm giving it away. We worked on it for so long and then I feel so useless on the day. And I have to say it makes me feel powerless. It's like having something taken away from me and then I'm standing in front of an empty plate and have to start cooking again.
But Wolfgang Joop won't be heading to the kitchen tonight. His next stop is a Paris restaurant with his daughters.
The idea of creating a cloud inside is quite a novel one, but it's the brainchild of Dutch artist Berndnaut Smilde. He captures the indoor clouds with his camera, and his work has been picked up by advertisers and fashion labels. We accompanied him on a shoot to see how he creates his surreal shots.
These are not computer-enhanced pictures, but real clouds in real rooms. Dutch artist Berndnaut Smilde calls this series of pictures Nimbus. He's fascinated by ambiguity.
Clouds can be many things and they can be threatening, but on the other hand they can also be like a divine situation almost. So there's always this duality in the work as well. Same as it builds up, but at the same time it falls apart again. So it's just there for a few seconds. So it's really about something that happened on that location is then afterwards it's gone.
Smilde, who lives in Amsterdam, has been creating indoor clouds since 2010. He's been invited to work at the St. Peter's Church in Cologne. The church nave is regularly used for art projects. The pictures created here will be on view in his next exhibition.
The space is almost like the plinth for the work. And I like it when there's a double connection as an exhibition space, but also as a former use, so in this case as a church.
Smilde's cloud pictures cost up to 8,000 euros. And they are less science and technology heavy than you might think.
I work with a fog machine and with water, and it's just water vapor that I use. And the idea is that there's a burst of smoke going into the space, and I build a wall with water vapor on the position whereabouts I want to position the clouds, so that should be in the middle somewhere here. So I make the space wet and cold, and build a wall of vapor where the smoke bumps into, and the water kind of sticks to the smoke, makes it heavier and pours it down, so it keeps it together for just a few seconds maybe, depending on the space, because every space works differently.
Lamps in the room imitate the sun. The way the smoke refracts the light determines the mood of the cloud. And in order to get the perfect shot, Smilde spends days running tests. And during that phase, he doesn't like people to watch.
By doing a performance, you would make a different work. I think then it will be about a collective memory, and people will be standing here. And then the work would also be about how do you make something. And for me, it's more about the idea that counts, and the idea of this cloud inside the space. So therefore, I just want to have this image.
Smilde's pictures are fascinating. Last year, he staged renowned designers alongside his clouds for the international fashion magazine Harper's Bazaar. He often enlists the help of a professional photographer. After all, he's striving for technically perfect pictures. The US magazine Time chose his clouds as one of the most important inventions of 2012.
It has spread around quite fast via the internet, and I think it's like a really universal, timeless image. Maybe that's why so many people are like it in a way.
Berndnaut Smilde's cloud pictures foster awareness of transience by capturing it for posterity.
The invention of the internet has had huge impacts on the majority of industries. One that has seen significant changes over the last 20 years is the music business. Songs are more accessible now, and there are so many unsigned artists publishing their work online in the hopes of building a fan base and being discovered. Well, now there is a new way for them to be proactive and collaborate with some of the biggest names in the industry via a new app called Wholeworldband.
Work in a filling station, you need the money. Use whatever you want. You can use some Japanese drums or bells or the kitchen sink or just an old tea chest, whatever you want to do. Bang on it, a saxophone, blah, blah, anything you want. Work in a filling station, you need the money.
Ever fancied jamming with a Rolling Stone? Wholeworldband makes it possible. Anyone can add their own video and audio track to this work in progress. Simi Crowns from Dublin is a regular user of Wholeworldband. The tools of the trade here are just an iPad and a microphone.
They're creeping amongst us due to trust, who the love.
There's different options of searching for different types of song. You can search by genre, you can search by the name of bands, you can search by seed track. Seed track is basically whoever contributes the background of the whole session.
The Nigerian-Irish rapper tracks down the seed and adds new life with his own input. Wholeworldband is the brainchild of Kevin Godley, former 10cc member and half of Godley and Cream. It was launched together with an Irish startup.
I suppose I'm trying to create an audio-visual global recording studio whereby somebody in this country can play with somebody in another country relatively easily. I call the technology behind it somewhat pretentiously Digilog, because it's using digital technology to create a fundamentally analog experience.
A virtual studio that you can record in by tapping your own tablet. The network already has several thousand musicians signed up, including the likes of Ronnie Wood, former Police drummer Stuart Copeland, and English singer-songwriter Passenger. And there's plenty of incentive for the big names too.
There's a slight sort of game edge to it, a competitive edge to it. Can anybody out there do something I'm not expecting? And if so, can I use it?
How about some traditional drumming? This Japanese group is taking a time out from their European tour to record a seed track with Kevin Godley. They love the idea of collaborating with artists from other genres.
The name Wholeworldband says it all. This program allows us to communicate musically with people all over the world. You perform together and create new music in the process. It's exciting.
Users can buy a recording session costing a maximum of €6.23. If a composite song ends up being released, all the artists who contribute get a share of the proceeds.
It's, I think, the first time we've monetized sharing. We're breaking down barriers to something that was traditionally very closed and exclusive, you know, where musicians went and hid in a studio for months recording.
Simi Crowns has yet to earn any money from his contributions, but for the 24-year-old, it's more a labor of love, learning and sharing. And the fun factor is just as high too.
Don't need a full moon to bring the animal out. Don't need a full moon to bring the animal out. Don't need a full moon to bring the animal out. This ain't mechanical styles, intuition is wild, be intuitive and fluid like a fantasy bout.
I don't really see any issues in terms of the two going side by side. The actual live sessions, you know, meeting with people and actually making music in the same environment, and the virtual environment as well. I think it's complementary to each other. So would one replace the other? No. Would the two go together? Very well, absolutely.
Sharing the virtual stage with mega stars or with the rising talents of tomorrow. This app gives you an access all areas pass. Wholeworldband, bringing the planet another bit closer in the new digital era of sight and sound.
Now here's a little fact for you. Every sound that you hear when you're in a car is actually engineered to sound the way it does. This design process covers everything from the noise the windows make to the click of the indicators and the sound of the throttle, one noise that many car lovers think the louder the better.
From 0 to 100 in 4.5 seconds, and with top speeds of 300 kilometers an hour, the 911 is a dream machine for sports car lovers. But Porsche employees Berndnaut Smilde and Bernd Müller have more than pure pace on their minds.
The sound underscores the experience, the emotions, the enjoyment, which is why it's an essential factor for me.
The two acoustic designers work on honing the sound of each model at the company's R&D center near the city of Stuttgart. On their recommendations, engineers adjust air supply and exhaust alignment in order to influence the noise of the engine.
The more we accelerate, the more intense the sound. Those two things have to go together to create a harmonious ensemble.
The engineers don't only rely on their own ears to determine what sounds good. They use a dummy that simulates human hearing, as well as various microphones to record and analyze engine sounds. The construction of the engine can then be changed according to their findings. The acoustic designers get down to work as soon as the first concept for each new model is born.
During the concept phase, there is neither an engine nor a car, which means everything has to be simulated. We simulate the intake, the engine and the exhaust to create a sound. We have to experiment a lot and can try as many as 240 variations.
Other car manufacturers, including Opel, also have acoustic departments. They employ up to 200 people to make sure every model has its own unmistakable timbre. They also run tests with potential customers. We met Klaus Genuit at the Institute for Acoustics at Berlin's Technical University. He has been researching the sound of cars for more than 30 years. His company has worked for manufacturers from around the world.
Italian cars sound different compared to German or English ones, and Asian cars are different from European models. They have a low frequency. They're relatively quiet and very pleasant. In Europe, and in Italy in particular, you're looking at high-frequency sounds, higher engine speeds. Then in England, they have a deeper sound. A Morgan, for example, bubbles.
But the designers are not only interested in the sound the engine makes. They also have to factor in more than 100 functional noises, such as the closing of a door. These days, every sound is specially designed.
It closes smoothly, not like the door of a safe. That might be a good sound for an armored limo, but not for a light sports car. What we need is a lightness that translates into a short, sharp sound, rather than a low frequency, a long-lasting one.
Electric cars present the soundsmiths with new challenges. They're particularly quiet when they drive slowly. So quiet, in fact, that experts in the EU are currently discussing whether they should create automatic warning signals, and not just for safety reasons.
We optimized the combustion engine over 125 years, and we know how to build one to make a particular sound. So now the challenge posed by electric engines signifies revolution rather than evolution. We don't know exactly what the customers want to hear. Do they want to hear anything, or are they happy to have a quiet car?
For many Porsche 911 fans, silence would be anything but golden. But then again, this car is no everyday vehicle.
We finished the show today in the Italian city of Venice, a place that's known for being a romantic destination for a weekend trip. Of course, some people live and work in these surroundings all year round. So we went to explore what it's like to be a gondolier and navigate visitors around the canals.
The world-famous St. Mark's Square in Venice. The best way to see the city's landmarks is on the water. Luciano Pelliccioli has been a gondolier for 25 years.
I like being a gondolier. When I was little, my father took me along and taught me how to row. This is part of life in Venice.
Lovely. It gives a different perspective on Venice when you see it from a gondola.
Luciano Pelliccioli's gondola is muscle-powered, using an oar on one side called the remo. Now aged 48, he's been doing this for decades, but it's still hard work to steer the 10-metre long boat through the narrow canals.
Careful, we don't want to fall into the water.
Venetian gondolas are works of art in themselves. Luciano Pelliccioli paid €50,000 for his. He had it built to his own specifications out of 9 types of wood. Luciano Pelliccioli rows the British tourist through San Polo, the oldest part of Venice. About 5,000 people still live here in the old town, but surprisingly few tourists find their way through the narrow streets, alleys and canals.
I like this neighborhood because I was born and raised here. My mama and papa were born here too. I learned how to swim and row in this canal. I feel very close to this part of town.
I learned to swim in this corner over there when I was baby. Long time ago.
The gondolier's profession looks back on a long tradition starting in the 11th century. The city's well-to-do would have themselves rowed around the city in gondolas fitted with small cabins called felzi. Back when residents depended on gondolas for transportation, there were over 10,000 on Venice's canals. Today, only some 500 are left, used mainly by tourists. Luciano Pelliccioli moors his gondola beneath the famous Rialto Bridge, one of the most coveted spots in Venice. There's no shortage of tourists passing by. Drumming up his business is part of the gondolier's job.
Good afternoon, signora. Just €80.
€80 will pay for a 45-minute gondola ride. The prices are standardised according to strict guidelines. The licensed gondolieri have attended a special school, learned the city's history and studied foreign languages.
Many people dream of becoming a gondolier. There are only 400 gondoliers with a license. We're a part of Venice. This profession immerses you completely in this city.
Luciano Pelliccioli spends up to 14 hours a day rowing his passengers through the canals, but he doesn't sing for them. Amateur singers are no longer welcome on the gondolas, only professionals.
Well, that brings us nicely to the end of the show for today. So thank you for being with us. And until next time, take care of yourselves and goodbye.